and let us all do we can to build a better future. Big yikes on Fox. Now, the thing is, it has to deal with the vaccination and a big back and forth. Joining on Fox is actually Nomiki Katz, who actually, I think she went on the record a long time ago saying that if you're a progressive and you go on Fox, you're, I guess,
you're a bad person.
Bad person, or you're contributing to legitimizing Fox or something. But
what's really funny about this is that she sort of, again, if you know Nomiki, like we actually met her one time.
One time, I only just said hello to her. Just that was it.
No, you were. I mean, it was way more than a hello. I mean, you guys were in a deep embrace. It was really something they should have been doing in public. Anyway, yeah. So it's funny that she's basically jumped into herself twice on this. First, by telling people not to go on Fox and then appearing on Fox, but then the very things she's talking about people not going on Fox to do, she of course does. And I think that we're about to see a video that is just people talking past each other, trying to make talking points, and nothing useful happens.
Yes, exactly. And again, huge shout out to Case Study QB. Be sure to follow him on Twitter. I was recently on his show. He does a lot of great stuff for his original YouTube channel, but also follow him on Twitter as well, because for some reason, Twitter is trying to censor him, and all he's uploading on Twitter is just corporate media. I thought they were authoritative sources. Why all the hate towards Case Study QB, Twitter? Let's play this first video.
Show. Nomiki, thank you for being with me tonight. You just heard the numbers. I just did the tally while Jason was speaking. $5.6 billion in revenue to Big Pharma so far through the COVID-19 vaccine. I've read your Twitter feed. I've seen a lot of your comments, Nomiki. You've been pretty aggressive. You've said that conservatives or anyone else who has questions about the vaccine are anti-vaxxers. You pointed Joe Rogan, I believe, once and called him an anti-vaxxer. Is it wrong to have questions about the motivations of this vaccine? Is it wrong?
Pause it right there.
Yeah, pause it.
Okay, so here we are, phase one. Fox News hosts frames a question into a "why were you punching your wife while you were drunk?" question, and then Nomiki responds with an equivalent.
Skeptical of Big Pharma?
Well, I love that you're skeptical of Big Pharma, just like Katie Porter was skeptical of Big Pharma just yesterday, who's a representative from California, a Democrat, and just like Bernie Sanders has put forward 3 pieces of legislation to rein in on Big Pharma and the fact that they're focused on profits. Listen, AbbVie, this is a pharmaceutical company, spent $1.6 billion in 5 years on research and development, yet $50 billion went to shareholders, $13 billion went to stock buybacks during that 5-year period. Their priorities are absolutely
Nomiki, that's
in the wrong
absolutely,
places.
that backs up the point. I'm sorry, Nomiki, but the question isn't why I have grown skepticism towards Big Pharma. The question is why those on the left, like yourself, have become such blind followers of Big Pharma. Why is it if you have questions... Well, Nomiki, you've been calling anyone that would question Big Pharma when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine an anti-vaxxer. When did you place your trust so blindly in people that stand to make $5.6 billion from this vaccine?
Can we pause it again? Again, this is the problem with corporate media and a lot of these pundits on the left and
YouTube
the right.
says they're doing a really good job. Look at how productive and trustworthy this content is right here. Way more than anything we could do.
This is not here. The bigger conversation is, and this is something that should impact a lot of Republican voters, independent voters, Democratic voters, and that is Big Pharma buys the Democratic and Republican establishment. So that means your diehard politicians that people like to go to bat for are owned by Big Pharma as well as other lobby groups. And the thing is, right now what we're seeing is a big distraction and a fight. Now the thing is, neither side in this argument is correct. They're ignoring the bigger problem, and that is how Big Pharma, again, loses its credibility, because when they do work in these vaccinations and they don't work, then you have people being skeptical of vaccinations. And at the same time as well, you're hearing this huge discourse and causing a bigger divide. We're still fighting this pandemic, and here we are, the richest country in the world, and we don't have Medicare for all. And the reason why we don't have Medicare for all is because of Big Pharma and also the healthcare insurance industry as well. Yeah, no one's talking about that.
And I think, I'll tell you what I would say if I was Nomiki once this finishes up. So we can play it again.
Let's play it.
The definition of intelligence is being able to hold 2 thoughts in your head at the same time and be able to consider. Big Pharma makes a lot of money, and they're not spending enough money on research and development, which is where their priority should be. Vaccines and other pharmaceuticals are stronger. It's not blind. The science is out about the vaccines. The vaccines work. Should there be a booster? I'm no scientist, but neither is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan should not act like a scientist. Joe Rogan should not be telling people not to wear masks.
You shouldn't be bringing him in this, actually.
This is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned you're a big vaccine booster now, not not because you believe the science backs it up, but because the vaccine has come to represent a political ideal, a political signifier, a political fight on which you think you can win and claim the banner of science. But the wild thing about it, Nomiki, is it exposes hypocrisy so blatantly for anyone on the left right now. Do you realize?
Okay, so here's the proper way, because Nomiki is walking in, doing the same thing she said she didn't like people to do on Fox or anywhere. She's not walking in to talk to this guy or genuinely argue the point he's making. She already figured out, just like the host, before this segment even began, they both were going to say something, and no matter what the other person said, they were going to stick to that. So if I'm Nomiki, here's what I would say. I don't trust the pharmaceutical companies at all. I don't trust the process they've put us through. I don't trust the ads that go on this channel or NBC. I don't trust how they've bought out either party. But I trust the vaccine. Like, that should be the way that if she's going to frame it the way that she's doing it to try and be consistent.
And just to be clear, you're saying that that's how Nomiki should have answered.
Well, yeah, because that's
not how you would have answered.
It is, and then the worst thing she could do is be like, Joe Rogan's an authoritative source. No one that watches Fox News is going to believe it. All I'm trying to do is we met Nomiki once. I want to help her bone up on her really terrible argument. But really, both sides, my point originally was, both sides have already decided what they're going to say before even walking into this. And so they automatically lost, in my book, already, because Nomiki is just literally copying, what's her name, that senator that had that big whiteboard that we covered. She's just going, what she said. Fox News guy's like, this is a left issue. They're not talking. If I was there and if I was in her shoes, I would be talking. But again, if I was there in my own shoes, it'd be a very different conversation.
Well, hold on, Dan, because there's actually a second video to play. Let's get that second video up and ready, because there's part 2 of this.
I think that's absolutely.
Hold on, really quickly.
Do you realize? But that is a Bernie Sanders bill.
Do you realize that the vaccine makers?
You're supporting the left right now.
Excuse me, right now. I'm supporting honest Americans having independent, free thought to make a choice about what they inject into their body. And I think when the pharmaceutical companies have complete liability protection on the COVID-19 vaccine, you on the left have chosen a unique time, a really interesting time to all of a sudden call people who have questions anti-vaxxers.
It was the Republicans who pushed the liability protection. It was not the Democrats. The Bernie Sanders and Katie Porter are the ones that are advocating to rein in on the pharmaceutical companies' profits so they can put more money into research and development.
Which only begs the question.
Do you think that we shouldn't have pharmaceuticals?
Which only begs the question, why now did you do? Which only begs the question, why now did you do an about face and all of a sudden say that anyone that has questions is an anti-vaxxer? Why now?
No. I think Joe Rogan is an anti-science person. There's a difference between being an anti-vaxxer and believing that COVID doesn't exist. He did not believe COVID really existed until recently. I mean, that's the difference.
I don't think that's fair.
We believe in science
nor do I
and
think
reason,
that's accurate.
which is why pharmaceuticals should spend money on research and development and not their shareholders.
Okay.
That's the difference.
I got 2 things to bring up, okay, because I think we've heard enough of this. Number 1, look, Joe Rogan is not an authoritative source, but he does have a very powerful and popular podcast, okay? He does have a lot of people following him. But, you know, everyone trying to jump down on Joe Rogan, this is another thing of trying to cancel somebody, which, again, I find very annoying. And then number 2, let's talk about research and development. A proper vaccine takes about 10 years at the bare minimum, and I'm being generous with the number, 10 years to be fully, you know, scientifically tested, okay? This vaccine that's right now available, even I'm concerned about its super fast rush, Operation Warp Speed, or whatever the hell it was called. You know, and for everyone's sake, everyone's mentality, I do hope it works. But, you know, Daniel's been covering numerous stories about the different variations of COVID-19, and we're not out of the woods yet. But what did we learn from that entire conversation? That is, this is what we see from corporate media now. This is the failure of establishment media. We have 2 people yelling over each other, then bringing in somebody else who's famous and trying to bring them into the conversation, and they can't defend themselves. Yeah. This is the failure of corporate establishment media. And what's the point of that interview? It was about, what, 4 minutes long? Did anyone learn anything from it? Except, here's the caveat. You have Team Blue and Team Red saying, oh, well, the Fox News reporter won, or Nomiki Katz won. And then you have it, of course, spilling over into social media. The purpose of this video is to share with all of you right now just why we need to have real accountability, why we need to break the monopolies and actually have something far different. Have a real conversation. Look, and I get that there are a lot of people who have reservations about getting the vaccination, and there's people who are taking the vaccination, okay? But the bigger conversation is breaking the monopolies of the lobby groups, the big pharma, the healthcare industry, and talking about how they're screwing over people because we, the American people, are given subpar treatment. We're not really actually getting anything for us, and we're still being screwed over.
Yeah, and so this is exactly why it's easy for us to say both sides lost in this. And that was the point I was trying to make earlier again, is that they're each coming in not even willing to speak to each other. They're just trying to yell their talking points over. And I hate that. I really hate watching that. And again, I want to reiterate, Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, thinks that what we just saw on TV is far more reputable and, in fact, authoritative in nature, that places like us apparently aren't able to do any commentary on that meets that level of standard. So, again, like I was saying, Nomiki could have walked in. But first of all, Kit's original point, it's funny that she's there in the first place.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we should all accept the fact that Nomiki was on her high moral horse when anyone went on Fox News that she didn't like and said, oh, I'm going to wag my finger at you because you're doing a bad thing. You're being very, very naughty in this situation. Well, unless I think it's a good reason to go, then I have all the justification in the world to go on Fox News, which is, of course, the hypocrisy that we despise here. Fox News host is being his consistent, swarmy self, not trying to let anything really happen. Meanwhile, Nomiki is right on her points with the size of the pharmaceutical company. And I was just so annoyed that she should know how Fox News works, how they do their segments, how they phrase their questions. She could have easily, that's what I was saying earlier, she could have easily just combined the question that was being asked of her and the answer she wanted to give. She didn't even take the time to do that, and yet yells at other people. Jimmy Dore gets yelled at when he goes on Fox News and you know who's able to answer the question and make the point they want when they go on Fox News? Jimmy Dore.
Yeah.
Do you know how effective it is? Quite effective. Do you know what people like Nomiki say when he does that? Terrible. You shouldn't go on Fox News, except when she does it. Then it's okay.
Two things to take away from this. Joe Rogan has had numerous guests on his show, and if you want to have a successful podcast, you're going to have different points of view. I mean, that's having a good show. We've had numerous people, different points of view, different politicians, different political parties on our show in the past. Joe Rogan has had scientists, credible scientists.
More than the news does.
World-renowned scientists on his show. To say that he's anti-science is, you're reaching there. And then number two.
But I do love the fact that Fox News host, the one thing he's like, that seems like BS. He clearly is a Joe Rogan watcher.
Yeah.
He's like, that's not him. It's such a weird, I just think the other thing is about what she did is it's such a weird thing to specifically go after Joe Rogan in that context.
Yeah. Again, Joe Rogan has nothing to do with that main conversation.
Joe Rogan's like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, and Nomiki's like, oh, that's a person of high moral aptitude.
Yeah.
Or more, or whatever.
Exactly. So, and the second thing to take away from it is corporate media. It's a failure. And, whatever your point of view of the vaccination, whether you're going to get it or not, just be safe, everyone, because we're not out of the woods yet. And we're still dealing with this economic crisis that we're in as well. With that being said, we're going to end this segment and move on to our next one. Before we do, I actually want to read a YouTube super chat from, long story short, $2. This is WWE News, not William F. Buckley show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly right.
All right. We also got something on Rockfin as well. Roger Meadows tipped $2 on Rockfin. June 7th, we are busting up to Albany State Capitol to give one last push, baby, to get Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins to put the New York Health Act to a floor vote. Go ahead, do it. Get as many people as you can, film and record it, with registered Dems making up 57% of GOP, 50% of your state Senate district, and your deputy right-hand man.